Yeah, I know. Weird. Jim, it's for staff meetings. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock and I would like to call the Monday, February 26th meeting of Kimberley City Council to order. Welcome, everybody. Our gallery here in Council Chamber, as well as those viewing on our YouTube channel. Councillor Royer and I are wearing the colors tonight. Playoffs are going to last quite a while, so Council, the challenge is on. Buy some sweaters. Well, we'll try, Troy, we'll try and kind of up the revenue from sweaters here if we can over the next little while. We have a couple of in-camera items tonight, so following our regular meeting, we will slip in camera. The agenda is not particularly heavy, but we're not in a hurry. We want to make sure we kind of cover the business at hand. So without further ado, the meeting is taking place as it usually does here on the homelands of the Ktunaxa peoples. And Maurice, do we have any late items?
There's no late items, Mr. Mayor.
All right, hearing none, could I have a mover to adopt the agenda? Councillor Royer moves, Councillor McGuire seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, next up, we have adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on, pardon me, November the 14th. Mover, please. Councillor Cairns moves, Councillor Royer seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. All right, formalities out of the way. We do have a delegation this evening. Mr. Bradley, you are going to talk about the Kimberley Public Library budget this evening. The floor is yours. Welcome back.
Thank you, Mayor McCormick. Council, thank you for having us. I'm Greg Bradley, Chair of the Kimberley Public Library Board. With me tonight is our Library Director, Tegan Madge. And before I go through the fun numbers, Tegan has a few comments, and so I'll turn the floor over to Tegan.
Awesome.
I have a little wad of sticky notes in my pocket to talk to you about. Hello, I'm Tegan. Nice to meet you. I haven't met most of you before. I think I've emailed with some of you or possibly some of your relatives, but it's nice to actually meet you. I thought I would just give you guys a sort of a quick highlights of what we did in the last year, because you may or may not be aware of what we've done at the library. So starting in January last year, we put up some storyboards at the Nordic Center. It was the Gruffalo and it was a story ski, and that was to encourage a love of reading in the little guys as they're getting some fresh air as well. In February, we started a Let's Travel series, and that's local travelers. There seems to be quite a few of them in this town. So they have gone all around the world, and they come back and they share their stories and their photos and everything with us. And that's public events. So we've had ones that were on New Zealand, we had ones that were from Newfoundland, and we had one that was for kids only, that was an African safari. It was a lot of fun. In April and spring, we have Outdoor Adventure Pack. So this is a partnership with Seaball and with Wildsight Education. This is to promote environmental literacy. So these are backpacks that can be checked out. And then they have things like binoculars, field guides, bird guides, bug guides, things like that, sort of whatever our theme is. It's a seasonal thing. So those have been really popular. And we also did some 3D print workshops in the spring, and we're hoping to do more. We had a little bit of a issue with our 3D printer, but we have since started that or fixed that, and it's ready to go. In May, I started, and I don't know what else happened in May. It's all a blur. In June, we did a lot of school visits. So we had almost every class of the elementaries come. And so we had over 600 kids and parents and teachers come through. And we gave out over 100 new juvenile memberships to kids. So make sure that everybody had one. And that was fun. I love school visits. I love when the little guys come in and they're peeking around. And then they get to see the parts of the library that you don't often get to see, like the book drop. It's very exciting things. And then moving into July and August in the summer, we had our summer reading program as we do every year. That was well attended this year. And another thing that we started this summer was Dungeons and Dragons. And this has been really, really, really well received by the community. So we've had 6 different weekly programs and they have all been full almost immediately. Before the posters were even finished being put up, the program was full. And everybody is wanting more. So we've done not just playing campaigns with community members, but also how to DM. And we're going to be doing a model sculpting workshop soon. So that one, D&D is especially dear to my heart because I love D&D, but also I've heard from a lot of participants and parents in the community that say that their kids really found a sense of belonging and community within D&D that they weren't finding other places. So it makes me very happy. Moving on to September. So you may not have seen it if you were in the library, but we put in a little mouse house. It's eye level for people who are this tall. And it's just, we had a little nook in our circulation desk, and they're not real mouse, but they do little things. They have a little, like they had a snowball fight, they had a Halloween party, like they do little things. And it's so cute because you see the little kids just like with their faces smooshed up against it, looking at it. Currently, we have a little I Spy challenge in there, and there's little coloring sheets underneath that they can take and they can look for the things. So just a little sort of extra thing on that. That one was great too. Sort of showed me the, I don't know, I guess the spirit of Kimberly on that one, because I had been struggling to figure out how to make it work. And then 2 of the amazing library patrons were like, we can do this for you. And it's like, oh. And it's perfect now. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's very cute. In October, we did a shop local. So this was a partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. And basically what it was with any of the local participating businesses, if you took your library card and showed it at the business, you would get some kind of a discount. And that was up to the business to decide what they wanted. It went really well. There was a couple of the stores that said they think that it increased the amount of people who came in. And so that's great. There was one that liked it so much they've kept it. They are never getting rid of it. It was only for October, but this one will be copied. I know from a few other libraries that I've talked to, so you can have the bragging rights of saying, yes, it started here. We also did a haunted house as part of the trick or treat on the Platzl, and we had a lot of kids come through. We ran out of candy. We had a lot of candy. So we think we had about 400 people come through on that. And I did hear from the community that they really appreciated it. Just that other thing to do, not just running around and getting candy. We had an I Spy set up. We also had some mad science in the back room. And also the parents really liked just somewhere that they could come and just rest for a minute and just stop and warm up, because October's not always super hot. In November, we did our typical week survey. And that doesn't sound very exciting, but it is to me, because in all of the areas that they measure, there were increases. So our public computer usage was doubled compared to last year. We had 30% more people come through the door. And that one is good. It just gives you, I mean, it's a typical week. So it's just a snapshot of what happens in the library. So again, we're busier than we used to be. In December, we did Stories with Santa, which was great. It was a photo op kind of thing where parents could bring their littles and they could sit on Santa's knee and tell him what they wanted for Christmas. And we did stories. It was really fun. And also, the city provided us with Christmas lights, and this is my actual favorite part of the entire year because I love Christmas lights. So we were able to be part of the Light Up the Platzl this year, which was exciting for me. And that's the end of the year. If you want to know what we're doing this year, you have to come to the library and see, because we've been busy. But I also just want to put it on your radar just so you know, that in 2027, the library will be celebrating its 100th anniversary. So we'll be doing something. That's all. Does anyone have any questions?
Go ahead, Councillor Roy.
During the cold spell, you guys opened the doors to invite people. Did you get a lot of people coming in the wintertime
It was,
during the cold spell?
yeah, so that's a hard stat for us to track because we don't know if they're coming in, but it was definitely busier during that. In the summer, we also did cooling. We were a cooling center and we did have a lot of people coming in for that. In the summer, we also provided refrigerated bottled water and yeah, we did notice an increase.
Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
Congratulations. I'm so impressed. An increase of 30% is amazing. And I hear such great feedback from families. I stopped at the early years program last week and people just rave about the library.
Great.
Yeah, and I heard, I heard the library is doing amazing things. We're so thrilled, and the library needs more space. This is the loud and clear message. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And yeah, I follow you on Facebook, and I'm just always blown away by all the different activities that are coming up. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And I just want to say my husband's an ardent library visitor, and he pops in, gets a book, pops back out. He usually knows what he's looking for, and he's in and out so quickly. The last couple of times he's in there forever. He's in there forever. He's now coming out. I said, what are you doing there? Can't you find a book anymore? He says, no. He says, I'm sneaking around in the back and listen to that guy read stories to the kids.
Oh,
I guess he's just amazing.
he is. He's also the dungeon master for D&D.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Anyway,
Excellent.
that's great.
Go ahead, Councillor Dunham.
I just want to say thank you as a parent for sharing your passion with our community. It sounds to me like you've taken a cardboard box and turned it into a jet fighter. So that's awesome.
That's awesome.
What are you going to do for an encore?
Oh, just wait.
It's coming. Okay, last comment, then we need to get Greg up.
So I just want to thank you also, the archives upstairs, when I was looking for history,
Yes.
when I needed to find something, because I'm still fairly new in Kimberley. Thank you, because you guys were very accommodating, helping me in finding exactly what I needed. So I just want to give you one more compliment.
All right, Greg. Thank you, Tegan. Great job.
Thanks.
For that, maybe I should make a couple budget request adjustments here.
Oh, I think you've already done that.
Yeah. No, my appreciation certainly to Tegan and to the staff over the past year for sure. It's been a concerted effort to turn the library into that third living space, after your home, after your work, the library as a community space that we can all kind of feel part of. So really appreciate what Tegan's doing and what staff are doing as well. So having said that, we'll look at the numbers here. And I'll just try to highlight where some of the adjustments have been, but if there's any line items you want me to pay particular attention to, please let me know. On the revenue side, top line adjustments to both the City of Kimberley and our request for the RDEK would be an inflationary adjustment of 3%, would be our request for this year. Provincial grants, we're hoping for some good news out of the budget this week. Library associations were, or I guess was last week, library associations were quite anxious to know what the provincial government was going to be doing with library funding. Unfortunately, we didn't see an increase that was hoped for. So the base funding from the province has been frozen since 2009. So just so all of you recognize that, and it's libraries all across BC are feeling the same thing. We did certainly receive a one-time grant last March that we talked about from the province, which is meant to be used over 3 years. It does make planning pretty tough though, these kind of ad hoc grants that we can't plan for. Provincial associations that we all belong to, Library Directors Association, Trustees Association, have been asking for years for just a known set increase to our base funding that we could work on planning for. So I know this will be an upcoming topic at the EBCM. So any councillors who are attending, or Mayor McCormick, if you're attending, and I think Vancouver Island is bringing that as a motion to EBCM. So please give your support to that. Other line items for grants, the other grants section, there's a carryover there from 2022 to our 2023 actual. So, that's why it looks significantly larger than what it is. But in there would typically be CBT grants would be our primary kind of other funder. In there is the CBT. The Friends of the Library, great partners of the library for years. Last year is the same as with the other grants. There was a carryover, which is offset, I think, in equipment and shelving on the expenditure side. So it's showing 18,000, about 10,000 of that is from 2022 that was carried over. The Friends have committed to a $12,000 donation this year, which we thank them for. They're incredible partners, and that's one of our most flexible areas for Tegan and for staff for purchasing of furniture and fun stuff, and that all of us in the community enjoy. The interest amount, obviously a massive increase there. That's because we put a good chunk of the provincial grant last year into a term deposit. So it's actually earning some interest there. But we will draw from that over this year and next. So that will decline in future years. Room rentals. So showing a decrease there. And no, we don't charge much at all for room rentals. I think $10 per hour. But I'm not sure if you've been in the library lately, but there's a lot of furniture moving in the library right now. And we did an ergonomic and kind of operational assessment of the staff working areas. And I've been moving a lot of furniture around and reconfiguring the staff work areas. And so out of that, the smaller meeting room we've pulled out of circulation, and that's becoming a staff, actually Tegan's office, as well as some storage. So we'll have one less room to rent in the library. On the expenditure side, second line on the audit, 3-year, I guess, contracted relationship with the auditor, and there was a 38% increase in audit fees this year, which I think the health center saw the same, and I expect the city saw an increase as well. So yeah, that's a significant adjustment for us, just with audit fees. Automation equipment is computers, really. Purchasing of computers, network equipment. So our actuals for this year are high, and that was partially a spend off of the provincial grant that we received. And so a lot of the network infrastructure, cabling, pulling of cables, we did a lot of upgrades to the behind the scenes network of the library, in addition to purchasing a couple of computers. So this year, the public access computers will be replaced as well. So that will be our primary expenditure on the computer purchase side. Books and periodicals, that stays about the same for expenditures. Recruitment and labor relations, we've reduced those expenditures. We're not expecting to do much, if any, hiring for this year. And Tegan actually does have some resumes on file. People want to work at the library. It's a pretty fun place to visit, and it's a fun place to work. So we're not anticipating having to do much of any advertising for staffing. We have and will be buying some more furniture, again, in keeping with some assessments we had done. So all the staff work areas have been replaced with some adjustable desks and whatnot to really make those working areas kind of ergonomic and functional for staff. Jumping down quite a bit to kind of the staff, seminars, conferences, travel. So we as a board have made a commitment to staff to really invest in their kind of professional development. And so that, as a percentage increase is significant. But we've also made a commitment that should there be staff who want additional Pro-D outside of that, that we would certainly look at the provincial grant we received as funding that type of thing as well. So the board's made that decision. E-content, a dollar value moving down from 15,000 last year down to 10,000. It was a bit of a misguess, I guess, last year of where e-content would be kind of coming out of COVID. So you may or may not know that digital materials you read on your iPads or e-readers, even if you sign them out, there's still licensing behind that. And so there are fees that the library has to pay for the use of those digital materials, even if there's not a physical book. So we anticipated kind of the growth we saw through COVID would continue demand for e-readers. It hasn't, or not as much as we anticipated, but people are signing out physical books again at a much higher rate. And so the net is about the same. It's just people have gone back to physical materials. Staff adjustments. So last year, our actuals were down from budgeted. A couple factors there is we had Tegan not starting until May. And so there was kind of January through April budgeted for, but we didn't have a director in place. We did have kind of temporary staffing in place, but at a different salary or wage rate than what we had. This year, there's increases both due to having a full-time director on hand. We also increased staffing, both staffing hours and hiring of an additional part-time person, kind of around mainly programming and that type of thing. And there's also a collective agreement increase in this year's numbers as well. 5% was the increase for staff wages. And so those are my top line adjustments, and I welcome any questions.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation, Greg. Councillor Roberts, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Greg, I noticed in 2023 and now in 2024 that you budget to a deficit. Is that common, or do you have some expectation that you're not sure of? Or?
Yeah, so it's partly because we do have the grants coming in, and so we show a significant increase in actuals for last year, and so we're spending some of that actual from last year, mainly the grant funding, on a deficit basis this year, but the revenues were accounted for in the last fiscal year. So that was $112,000 from the province that shows on our revenue.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor McGuire.
Yeah, on a similar note, I'm just curious where your reserves sit at.
I can give you a ballpark. Yeah, so it's I think about $60,000 cash on hand and $100,000 in the term deposit.
Further? I noticed the $3,500 budget item for interest. So I assume there must have been a fair amount of cash sitting in the background.
Yeah.
The regional district grant, is that a proposed or have they confirmed?
That'll be proposed, yeah.
Has that been presented to
Not
the
yet.
RD?
No.
Should do that quickly.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the final throes of
Okay,
finalizing the budget for this year.
thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? All right. Thanks to both of you for being here tonight.
Okay, yeah.
Making the presentation. We'll get back to you, Greg.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but if you have other things to do. Yeah, I kind of figured that might be in the cards. Thank you for being here. Okay, next up, we have a zoning amendment bylaw, 2758, which relates to 725 300th Street. And the motion on the floor is that council approve first, second, and third reading of this particular bylaw. Councillor McGuire moves, Councillor Royer seconds. Discussion. Troy, did you want to comment on this?
Just very briefly, just to make sure everyone's clear on what's proposed here. We did talk about this at the previous meeting. This is to change the zoning of the subject property from the R4 zone to the R2 zone, and this is to accommodate the homeowner's plans to add a detached accessory structure to the property that'll provide both some enclosed on-site parking for the owners, as well as a secondary accessory dwelling unit on the property to rent out for long-term rental. We did send out notice prior to the stage, and no comments have been received to date.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Troy. Council. I guess it's kind of a comment, but a question. In looking at the planning layout, the house looks like it's in the middle of the property and that there's not an awful lot of room on any of the sides to be able to put an accessory dwelling. There really wasn't an example of kind of where the garage and the suite are going to go. Everything is cool with respect to things like setbacks and all the rest of it.
Yeah, it might. Yes, everything is cool. Everything is going to fit just fine, at least as far as we know for now. There will be more detailed plans prior to building permit stage, but perhaps it's just a little bit deceiving. It's quite a large parcel actually, and the existing dwelling is sort of set on there, not parallel with the side parcel lines, which is often the case. So. But there is plenty of room, and where they're proposing here is the kind of southeast corner or eastern side, southeastern corner of the parcel where the structure will fit there. And at least on preliminary plans, everything looks like it'll fit just fine.
Awesome. Thanks, Troy. All right, seeing no further questions, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion is carried. Thanks for that, Troy. Pardon me. Next up, we have the 2024-2025 Ready Grants Program. We are proposing to set the meeting date for the public to come in and present. And the motion on the floor is that council approve a special meeting to be held on Wednesday, April the 10th at 7 p.m. in council chambers. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Royer. Councillor Karen seconds. Do we have any comments? I don't think Pam is on, is she? I can speak to it. Okay, thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a meeting that the city facilitates every year. The grant program is actually it's CBT money. They've got $1.2 million to give away this year to community groups. Kimberley share of that is just about $105,000. So this meeting is being set so that council can hear vet the applications that have been received from the various groups to allocate the funding for the year. CBT, the RDK encourages the public to come out to these meetings as well to provide input on applications that they think are beneficial to the community. So if anybody out there is interested, April 10th is when the meeting is scheduled for.
All right. Councillor Roberts.
I may be misunderstanding this. I thought this was regional district money.
No, it's CBT money that is managed under,
I-
under contract through the regional district.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, the Ready Grants is a bit of a new term. It used to be the community granting. I forget what the previous name was already. But yeah, it's CBT delivered money. Okay, call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried. All right, next up, we have the drive-through and gas station engagement update. Motion on the floor is the council receive the report from the planner. Mover, please. Councillor Royer moves. Councillor Karen seconds. Anything further to discuss here, Troy?
Not too much, just very briefly. This is a very brief update on the engagement strategy here. Within the next couple of days, certainly by the end of the week, we should be launching the survey to go out to community members, be made available over the coming number of weeks. I think we'll probably keep that open till the end of March. And on top of that, we'll be meeting with the Accessibility Advisory Committee as well to gather any feedback that they may have on this on the matter. And once we have all the feedback received, we'll be reporting back to council with some additional or with next steps and kind of recommendations there. So just a quick check-in and let you know where we're at on that one.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Troy. Councillor Roberts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're gonna have to bear with me on this. I never thought I'd be coming back to this conversation with this in my mind, but it's here and I'm here. And so I really firmly believe that we need to do this. However, the manner in which we're doing it, I would like to dispute. In view of the fact that the situation arose where we had so much intimidation and bullying and so many people that were gathered together as a mob to try to get things to happen in their own way, I feel that this particular way of gathering the data is not fair. I don't think it allows a fairness. It allows for somebody to go online as many times as they want with us not being able to gather that. I would prefer and would recommend that instead of doing that, that we use the kind of process that we used in view of the fact that what's going to happen here is going to highly impact commercial opportunities going forward in the community. I want us to consider using the kind of program that we used when we used the property assessment or the building assessment program, where we give one house, one code, one person's point of view, and that makes it fair for all. And it is particularly, it levels the playing field so that if there is a particular bias, it will show up. If the people who have been frightened from speaking, and I'm not saying that lightly, who've been frightened from speaking up against it because they felt that they were being intimidated, it gives them the opportunity to have their fair share and fair say privately and with knowing that it's not going to be compared to others or there's no intimidation involved in it. I feel very strongly about that because still after all this time, people who know me bring it up. And I have to say, look, where were you? Why didn't you speak up then? Well, I can't. But this gives them the opportunity to be able to say what they need to say. And I'll tell you, if we choose to do this in this manner and it comes out, whatever way it comes out, I'll be behind. But right now, I don't think this allows for a fairness. And specifically because we are also referring to, we're going to ask for a Healthy Interior Community Program to comment. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not taxpayers in our town. And as well as the people who are gathering feedback for the Chamber of Commerce. Well, they are taxpayers, they have their vote, and that's fine. I'm good with that. So I think the thing that I really want it to do, I need it to be fair. I need it to be across the board. Everybody gets one chance to say what they want, and that there's no bullying, there's no stacking, and we can be confident that we've got a fair appraisal. That's my saying.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Roberts, for sharing your concerns there. I can confidently say that they're unfounded. This process we're going to use will be fair. It's not going to allow for any bullying or any pressure. In fact, that's one of the benefits of using the Engage Kimberley tool, is it makes it accessible to anybody in the community that wishes to use it. Nobody's going to get multiple votes using the Engage Kimberley tool. They do need to register and log in to the program, and through that tool we can ensure that there's not any stacking and bullying happening of any sort. So I want to remind council that the results of the survey are not binding on council. Council gets to have the decision ultimately about what happens in this regard, and staff will be sure to provide a very fair and balanced number of recommendations and options for council to consider. Ultimately, it's going to be up to the elected officials at the table to make the decision, and the results from the community survey and any feedback from Interior Health professionals, our volunteer accessibility advisory committee, are going to be simply information for council to consider as part of the overall process here.
Thanks for that, Troy. Further, Councillor Roberts?
Yes, then, well, I appreciate knowing that, Troy, that there is no way to kind of double up on that. The other thing that the sidebar for that is then, how are we actually, the survey's going online. How is anybody going to know about that? How are we marketing that?
Part of that is why we're here tonight, is to make sure that the community is aware of it, that council is aware of what the next steps are. We're finding that there is a lot of people in the community that pay very close attention to what's said around the council table, what's on the agenda. We get that kind of feedback from community members all the time. So that's part of why we're here tonight. We'll also be using the Engage Kimberley tool, the website, the social media channels, our weekly update through the newspaper to spread the message. And I encourage all of council and anyone listening tonight to spread the word, email your friends and foes widely, and make sure that they're aware of this opportunity.
Thank you for that, Troy. I think the media channels that we engage, that Pam engages as part of her dissemination of information, they're well known, well used, and I think both she and those channels do a great job for getting the word out there for us. The other thing I will say is that the Engage Kimberley application has been extremely well received by people that have used it. It's a way that to communicate with us that's gathering, I think, a lot of steam since it has in fact been introduced. And I think this will only serve to add people to the list of users, not only for this particular piece of feedback, but for subsequent as well. I think it's a really positive thing. Go ahead, Councillor Ray.
So I've received feedback from the business sector and the Accessibility Advisory Committee, and they both very positive about the whole thing. So they're okay with it, and I'm okay with it. So just letting you know that I've received feedback already. The process is excellent.
Okay, cool. Go ahead, Councillor Cairns.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm fine with the process, and I want to comment that I thought the last process was well run. People had full opportunity to write letters, to engage in the way that they saw fit. They had the opportunity to come online at the public hearing. They had full opportunity to come to the public hearing in person, which was well run. It was respectful. People showed up and spoke eloquently about this community, and I think it was a really good process. So I'm going to leave it there, but I just well, there's one other comment as well, is that when we're looking at we only have one committee. So, I was fine with it the way it is, but I'm just saying also, it's not as though we have other committees that say, many other communities have sustainability committees. They have, broader, say, a family representation, this type of thing, safe walking routes, that type of group, active transportation. So, you know, there is a slant there that it's taking it in one direction. So there's all kinds of things that need to get weighed into it. But I just want to say thank you for the work on the process and on the previous process as well. I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, so to be clear, that was a public hearing that we had last time, not a community engagement process. So they are, you know, two different things. And I think that staff have done a good job to set this up, and it behooves the community to provide feedback, and we'll see where it goes. Thanks, Troy. Call the question on receipt of that report. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Next up, we have the AKBLG Convention attendee authorization, and the motion on the floor is that Council authorize myself, Councillor Roberts, Councillor Royer, and Councillor Cairns to attend the AKBLG conference to be held in Radium beginning April 19th. Motion, please. Councillor Cairns, thank you. Councillor Royer, appreciate that. Discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Roberts.
Is there typically not a limit of 3? That doesn't matter? Okay, that's fine, because if there was a limit, I would step back.
Yep, no, any councillor wishing to attend either AKBLG or UBCM.
Thank you. I guess we've just only ever gotten 3 to go.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay, call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay, next up, we have the check run, a couple of check runs actually in the order of first run, $338,050, and the second, $458,160, both to be approved as paid. Motion, please. Councillor Royer moves, Councillor Roberts seconds. Any particular comments? Hearing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried. All right, that brings us to the last item under the regular meeting tonight, and that is correspondence. And we have one item for information only. Could I have a mover to receive? Councillor McGuire, thank you. And Councillor Royer, thank you. Any comments? All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay. Like we do at all of our regular meetings, we will leave the floor open for anybody either in the gallery or on watching on our YouTube channel to call in and ask questions with regard to anything contained in the meeting this evening. If you are watching online, the number to call is 800-741-71. Pardon me, I'll start over. 800-741-7180. And when prompted, the meeting number is 2770-396-2796. All right, so while we're waiting to see if anybody's going to call in, let's do a quick round of councillor items on things that you have done on behalf of the city for the last couple of weeks. We'll start with Councillor McGuire tonight.
Yeah, nothing's coming to mind right off the top of my head. I do have a meeting this week with Spark Youth. Planning on sitting in on one of their board meetings just to see what's happening with their organization, and yeah, I hope to report back on how that goes. And also will be, that's it for council business. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Councillor McGuire. Sue.
Thank you. So last week I stopped by the Kimberley Early Learning Centre, as I mentioned earlier, just to hear from families with young children. And I heard 4 things: the need for childcare spaces, the walking and biking, safe routes for young families, what a great job the library is doing, and that how happy families were that the pool opened back up last week. So everybody was thrilled. And one additional thing was that families just couldn't say enough about how important that early years programming is, and that, you know, that it's in a central location, it's a place where families can come and ask child development questions, get that critical support when they need it. And it just, it really impressed on me this, how fast the population of young families is growing, and they bring new life and future. And so I think it's really important to hear from them. So I wanted to mention that the early years programming information is on the Community Connections site for Southeast BC. And then, so in follow up to the kind of the childcare spaces, I'm meeting actually with Crystal McLeod, the Director of Instruction with SD6 and Early Learning and Childcare, and Sarah Jacqueline, ED with Summit Community Services, to hear about the great work that they've got underway with 140 spaces that are coming available, and which of course staffing depends on the truly affordable housing. And then had a very brief meeting last week with Jerry Brightwell, Ministry of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation, and Robin Peel with Community Futures, who both offered, if there's interest, to provide information on available funding and support for the community kind of development, economic side of things, if there's interest in that. And that, I think I'm going to leave it there. I will mention I am receiving a lot of emails and phone calls from residents looking for information about the city planning and advice around wildfire, keeping our community safe in wildfire. And I do appreciate that people are reaching out, wanting to prepare and asking for ideas also for starting neighborhood conversations and helping vulnerable residents. So kind of, let's see, 5 topic areas that people seem to be asking about is the forest treatments. The second one is the neighborhood fire smart and the home fire smart, and emergency readiness would be the third. People are also asking, after last summer's fire season, if there's a way that volunteers can be used formally, if there's any kind of protocol around that. And then the final item is that resident well-being in wildfire, smoke, heat, and drought. So those are kind of the 5 areas that I've been hearing the most about. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sandra.
Thank you very much. Had a chance to, since we last met, to have a meeting with Center 64, was introduced to the new manager of the center. Her name is Carrie Jo Buckman. She lives here now, but came from Vancouver. She seems really, really involved. She's just sort of getting her feet under her, trying to figure out all the things that happen there and who does what. They are also at the stressful ending, near the ending of developing a union contract. The employees of the center, not the manager, but the employees, had reached out to the union, and the union, of course, didn't say no. So they've been undergoing kind of complex union contract discussions to arrive at a contract. It's a very complex environment that works with all kinds of strange hours and strange hours of opening, strange responsibilities at different times of the days and evenings and so on. So it's been kind of a tough one to put together to keep everybody happy, and where can you contract out to have people do certain things that the staff doesn't know. And it's been very complex and very stressful, but they're just about at the end. So they've had good advice. So that's good.
Yeah, excellent.
All right.
Thanks for that, Sandra.
Mhm.
Kevin.
Nothing to report, just enjoying everything that Kimberly has to offer, skiing, cross country, fat biking. Making the best of what we got.
Awesome. Stephen.
Not too much to report, just that we are having a special meeting for the Accessibility Advisory Committee on March the 6th. And this is a very important one because it'll give ideas for the city planners what to do. And also asking the public if they have any input before March 6th. You can email me directly if you want. I have no problems with that. And you get a reply back. And that's it.
All right, excellent. Thanks for that, Stephen. Do we have any call in? No?
We don't have any caller, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Our massive gallery here this evening. Any comments or questions?
I don't want to go to the mic, but I will say I've been enjoying the pool, and
unintended high water mark at the pool. They had excess of north of 200 people at the pool yesterday.
Comments from the gallery with regard to the reopening of the pool. It's been a popular place. Okay, before we go into our in-camera, I will, guys, we're still in the meeting, please. Thank you. I'll hit kind of the high notes here. I'm not going to go into the detail, but if anybody wants any further details, just give me a call. I attended the UBCM Housing Summit. It was a 2-day summit held last week. And I attended it virtually. There were actually 400 attendees in total, 300 in person at the Weston Bay Shore in Vancouver, and 100 of us online. It was actually a great seminar put on by UBCM. I've got a bunch of notes that I had taken that I have not had time to summarize. When I do, I will fire those out to council. I had a Tourism Kimberley board meeting, and the TK AGM was held here within the last couple of weeks. I had an opportunity to do a welcome to all of the para athletes that were skiing here a week or 10 days ago, I guess, up at the resort area. It was again, we proved that we are the top of the heap, certainly in Canada, if not North America, when it comes to putting on para skiing events. The Kimberley Disabled Skiing Association, specifically Donna Briggs and Lloyd Steves, do just an awesome job. I was able to, or I got invited to do a podcast interview that was really about telling Kimberley's story, talking about not just the past, but where we are today and some of the challenges and opportunities that we've got sitting in front of us. That was really interesting. I've had 2 or 3 economic development meetings with Cranbrook. The removal of deer from the community is front and center with an awful lot of folks. It's been a little bit quiet here over the last little while, so there've been a lot of questions coming in, and I've had to work with our provincial ungulate manager to try and get kind of his hierarchy up the chain, kind of engaged in getting a decision made on what we need to do, because it's getting really, really late. And if we don't do something quickly, we had a count of 220 last fall. It'll probably be at least 400 with all of the pregnant does that are about to drop fawns here in the next little while. So please stay tuned for that. I had a meeting with the Arts Council president. It's budget time of the year. Lots of folks doing lobbying on kind of where extra money is going to come from. Everybody's under the same pressure we are with respect to increasing costs, and lots of conversations about how, creative conversations about how additional money might be had. On Saturday, I got to do and this was so much fun. I got to do I won't call it a welcome, but I had a few words to say at the 100th anniversary of the Kimberley Curling Club. Greg mentioned that the 100th anniversary of the library is coming up here in a year or so. This was the 100th anniversary of the Curling Club, 1924, believe it or not. It has a really storied history that I won't get into tonight. But not coincidentally, but in parallel, the Kimberley Golf Club is also having its 100th anniversary this year. The first 9 holes were put in place in 1924. So a lot of our heritage and a lot of our history that we share in town here is really coming to the forefront here this year. I also was at the last firefighter graduation this past Friday. As you know, the firefighter training program is moving to Creston next year. This was the last class that we're doing here in Kimberley, and there were I think there were 14 grads. It was an awesome event, and I really appreciated the opportunity to go in and talk to the folks on behalf of the city of Kimberley. This is kind of indirectly related to the city, but I had an opportunity to attend the celebration of life for Pat McTeer yesterday. For those of you that don't know, Pat has been the only golf superintendent at Bootleg for the last 24 years. And 62 years old, he was vacationing in Mexico and unfortunately had a heart attack and passed away. The celebration of his life was this weekend, and there were probably 400 people that showed up at the conference center. Everybody involved with the golf club and the curling rink, and basically everybody. That's a very, very tight group. It was an awesome event. And while you don't, it's kind of a somber thing to have somebody passing away, attending an event like that where they are truly celebrating the life of somebody who was pretty special it was great to be there. Just a bit of a heads up this week. I don't normally talk about what's coming, but we have another event, a ski event happening here next weekend. I'm going to be doing a welcome for the Masters Criterium. There are 200, this is a seniors event. There are 200 racers, I shouldn't say races, I guess. We got 200 skiers coming in who will be doing some form of racing from 11 countries that are going to be here at the resort for the full weekend next weekend competing. So that's going to be great. And this is the week I'm heading down to Kelowna with Dave Wilkes to meet with Interior Health with regard to the funding for the health center. So next week at the meeting next week, I'll be able to give everybody an update on how that went. Absolutely.
Happy Hans is happy and slinging beer. Few more exterior things, but he's functional and
Yeah, the cuckoo clock.
yeah.
That's awesome. With Still Standing coming to town, it's going to be important that people be able to put in a loonie or a toonie. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, long-winded, and I'm going to miss my goal. However, good conversation. Did we vote on the correspondence? We did. Okay, since there are no further questions, I need a mover to move in camera. Councillor McGuire, thank you. Councillor Dunneback, seconds. All those in favor? That motion is carried. You can stay, Nick. Yeah, I know. Get your body armor. I'm kidding.